Hello, everyone. This is Zayami from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Oregon Short Film Festival. Right now, we are gearing up for our spring festival, which is going to be on March 17th at the Clinton Street Theater. And today, I'm talking with one of our participating filmmakers. John Schlag is the director and co writer of the film Empty Nestor. John, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thanks for having me. This is great fun.
So Empty Nester is great. You're tackling a very cutting edge subject and you're giving it a little bit of humanity and an insight that I think is very fresh. I want to know what inspired this film.
Thanks. Your description of it right there was really great. Exactly. So there's this raging debate going on over AI in general and over the role of generative AI in creativity in particular. I kind of feel like there's this big pond and there are these monsters in the pond having this huge battle. And I just, sat on a little pier on the edge of the pond and, threw a little stone out to see if the waves would just get lost in the maelstrom or have any effect on anyone. And yes, it's a sort of humanistic approach to that debate.
Okay,
So
well, I
that
love that.
inspired it. One, sorry. The other thing that inspires us, we shot this on we have this funky little cabin on the shore of Lake Champlain in Vermont where we stay in the summer. And there's this micro budget indie filmmaker motto, use what you have, right?
Right.
And so we decided we would shoot it all right there. And we actually maxed out that mantra of use what you have to use everything we have in and around where we live.
I love that. Oh, I love the inclusion of the communal library box, and it feels very much like a true lived-in environment. But
Thanks.
it's nice that it's a cool cabin. It's not just your common suburban interior. It gives it a bit of an aesthetic that I think is interesting. Um, I wanted to ask a little bit about the characterization of Empty. That's the whole focus. But I noticed something specific that I really liked. He has this sort of robotic presence. He's got the robotic outfit, but there's one scene where you can see he's wearing these kind of delightful green Crocs.
Right.
And I want to know if that was a conscious choice to add a little bit of, I don't know, human presence, or what that was about, or just a little bit about the character.
Sure. Yeah. Great of you to pick that out. That was a suggestion from our costume and makeup designer, Jack Dahlberg, who came up from Brooklyn to help us out with this. I was going back and forth with her about the costume for Nestor, and I said, "Oh, go ahead, throw out some ideas." And she threw out a bunch of ideas, and that one just lit up for both of us. And she just took some nail polish, got some green Crocs and painted them. And the idea is that the little girls who are now long since grown,
Hmm.
hence the empty nest, decorated those for him when
I
he
love
was
that.
new. Yeah.
I love that. So, and that is that kind of the devil's in the details, building a more full world with this short. Um, I'm
Great.
curious, what
Thanks.
did you learn from this process? You said that you used everything possible available. What did you take away from this?
Oh, continuing to learn a lot, especially since this was our fourth short film working together during 2023, which is the year we got started. Years ago, I worked in the visual effects industry.
Mm.
I worked on, Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park and
Oh, wow.
Forrest Gump and a couple of Star Trek films and Matrix sequels, a bunch of high budget, high end VFX driven films like that. But when you do that, you're a very small cog in a very large machine.
Right.
Opportunities for creative input, of course, are limited. And I decided that I wanted to get to know filmmaking soup to nuts, one end
Okay.
to the other, writing, producing, directing. And so a lot of what I've learned is about that entire process. In particular, MT Nestor it's not quite a silent film, but there's no dialogue.
Right.
And so when you make that decision to shoot it that way, it was pretty easy to sell some of the story in the POV graphics on the screen. So that
Right.
makes up for the lack of dialogue, and it means you don't have to resort to pantomime or things like
Right.
that. But the other thing about it was you make that decision to go without dialogue. Um, the good part of it is because we were shooting without sound, shooting MOS, the whole thing we shot very quickly in one very long day from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Um, our DP Dylan Tenner and our actors were just terrific, and our very small crew. The downside of this, the sort of dark lining in the silver cloud, is that now you need to go back and fill in all the sound. So I
Ah,
spent a couple of months with an audio recorder just capturing, footsteps on gravel and footsteps on grass and the sound of that library door creaking open and closed and dozens of different sounds, um, and then putting them all in to the edit painstakingly.
totally.
So I think Foley sound in particular, was a big teachable moment on this one, whereas the previous short film had dialogue in it.
Mm,
I had to learn to be very careful in editing dialogue sound.
right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like that you're having this continuum with these four shorts, that you're doing something different each time, learning something new, filling in the different pieces. And I thought the sound was great. I had no idea that it was all Foley. I felt like the environmental sound
Nearly all. There are
matched.
a couple of places where the camera is capturing sound,
Right.
and it's good to be able to have that in the edit.
Okay, a little bit of
Uh,
ambiance.
but most of that sound is not very good because it's not boomed and
Right.
there's no lavs or booms. But in a couple of places, just for ambient sound and some of the footsteps, there is a little bit of production sound in there, but not much.
Well, that's cool. That's an interesting thing to have to work with.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, what are you working on next? Do you have another short planned?
Sure. Yes. Um, Started trying to follow a very responsible growth path. After working on those large, big budget films, rather than trying to put together something like that I really don't have the, as I said, soup to nuts experience
Right.
to supervise. I decided instead that I would go all the way to the bottom and start making shorts. Um, we made 4 of various sorts last year. The next 3 projects, one is another short. This one is a sort of bio science fiction issue, looking at what happens when the technology gets to the point where 2 women are able to conceive a child.
Interesting.
This is coming soon.
Totally.
And it's going to be another very interesting moment in our history of science and the ethics thereof. And of course, it will aggravate, I'm sure, a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
So that's guaranteed to be a fun debate. And
Totally.
then there's, I guess, what I would call a featurette, which is
Okay.
probably, it's not going to be a feature, but it's probably going to be upwards of 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, somewhere in there. And that is a combination of, it's a dance film, another dance film. We made one short one last year, and it is a combination of choreography and cryptography,
Hmm.
conveying a secret message through dance.
Oh, I love that. That's very
Of course,
interesting.
with hovering, it's a bit of a spy mystery, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the third one is to move the level up to a first feature film, which is about a workaholic judge recovering from a difficult operation in the hospital, and the troubled young nurse taking care of her. Both risk their careers to bring justice in a certain way.
Interesting. Very titillating.
Hope
I
so.
love that.
Thanks.
Well,
Yeah, I
that's cool.
try
All
and
three
keep
ideas
those
are very
log
different.
lines handy.
And that's interesting. It seems like, there's an interesting process to watch, because you're from the industry, you worked at the professional level, and now you're going back, into the weeds to, like you said, figure out the various angles of creating your own films. And
Mhm.
you're going to do 5 shorts, a featurette, and a feature. It's like the perfect blueprint for how to, almost instructional for people watching, how to ramp up and make a feature. Um,
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, my sort of personal tagline, one of them is that I am putting myself through film school way cheaper than other. Not that those places aren't great. You can go
right,
there if you want, and many of our audience members probably did or
totally.
would love to. But I'm doing this as a third career after being a musician and then a sort of visual effects and high tech guru. Um, yeah, I hope this is a responsible growth path.
Totally. I mean, it's experience driven. I think it's the best possible way to learn. I'm curious though, with the experience that you have, is there any advice you would give to people who are aspiring to follow your path and make shorts and move up to features?
Sure. I'm really only sort of taking this advice from someone else and
Okay.
shoveling it across. I'm a big fan of Mark Duplass and his brother Jay, who are
Totally.
heroes. Yes, you know them. I'm sure many of
Absolutely.
our viewers do. They are, to me, are big heroes of the indie filmmaking scene, and they made some mistakes and told us about those mistakes and said, okay, here's how to do it right. So that's one piece of advice, is just to go listen to their advice. Mark Duplass, well, he's getting big play nowadays in a major role on the morning show, which is terrific. It's good to see him work as an actor, but it's his sort of behind the camera life as a filmmaker,
Totally.
himself and his brother Jay, I think, which has been so inspiring. The other bit of advice I got was, like, I got onto the platform formerly known as Twitter, now
Okay.
X,
Yep.
and I started getting to know screenwriters. That was
Okay.
my goal. I just kept everything out except for screenwriters. And one day I was, looking at my phone and reading this guy who'd been in the industry many years and was, well established as a professional screenwriter. He said, if I had it to do over again, I would make a short film every month for 1 year, send them all out to the festivals, and see what hit.
Huh.
So this, my wife and I took this as kind of a design brief
Right.
strategy for 2023. We did manage to write 11 or 12 shorts.
Wow.
Uh, my wife's these are her books behind me. She's a
Okay.
children's literature author,
Nice.
published novelist. That's Jennifer Gennari. We decided that she would continue writing short stories and I would write short screenplays. And we managed to make 4 things during the year, not 12.
Right.
So not quite, batting 500. But I have learned a lot. Getting back to your question earlier about what I've learned, part of what you learn is how to make a film, and then how to edit, and then do sound and whatever. Then I learned about Film Freeway and how to submit and what the
Totally.
different festivals want. There are 30,000 some festivals all over planet Earth of every shape, size, and description, and
Totally.
learning to focus on a submission strategy, basically a marketing strategy for the film. And the last thing is that I have not yet learned about distribution, like how
Mm,
to even just get people to pay 49 cents to see your
right.
short film and try and accrue some income off of that.
That's a big question. That's a hard one to figure out, but it is
Yeah.
possible.
Yes.
Oh, well, I love that advice, and I really like that. You know, try and make a short film every month, because I feel like people get bogged down in trying to finesse the big idea, and they're not actually
Mhm.
honing just the skills of make it a short, make it easy, make it quick. Like you said, work with what you have. No need to go above. Do the Duplass thing. Make it with your family. Shoot it with your actual dad or whatever. But I love that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that advice.
Yeah,
Uh,
great. I did. It took me a while to sort of get religion about writing shorts.
mhm.
I wrote 3 screenplays in the first year and a half or two, and they're all too expensive, too complex, whatever.
Okay, totally.
I tend to think science fiction is more my home.
Okay.
Sometimes family drama with a bit of sort of maybe a thin fantasy or science fiction conceit that it's
Okay.
based on. But after doing that, then I sat down and wrote the two-hander, the 2 women in the hospital, designed to be simple enough to make on my own dime, but it was still too complex. Um, I have this friend, Renee, up in Vancouver, who teaches and runs a screenwriters group up there. And I finally got it through my thick skull. He said a couple of things. One is, just writing shorts is great practice. It's way less expensive, way less complex than making a feature film. He also said, oftentimes when I'm working on some aspect of the craft, whether it's dialogue or setting or character growth or arc or whatever, I'll write a short just around that concept. And
Mm,
he's written over 100 shorts. And then I thought, okay, finally, I'm getting through my thick skull here. And I sat down to write my first short, which is a science fiction piece about a young woman who's unraveling what she thinks is a conspiracy for why people are just disappearing left and
Hmm.
right. It's called Vapor Trail, and then has to change her mind and change direction when she learns what's really going on. And I costed that out with a producer friend from the city, and it was still too expensive and too complex. That's
Mm.
when my wife and I started casting around for short stories that could be turned into short films. And that's when we made Party for One, which is also out on the festival circuit now.
Okay. Totally. Well, I like that idea that, take your character, take your conceit and just kind of truncate it. Make something doable. And it
Mhm.
could, fill into the bigger idea. I feel like everyone always wants to make the feature, always wants the bigger idea, but
Mhm. Yes,
you can extract one doable thing from that and create a film, and that's already going to make you, more versed, going to bring you closer to that goal.
bingo.
Well, I love that. Is there anything else you'd like to add about Empty Nester?
Oh, only that the cast and crew were absolutely delightful to work with. They made themselves available for several days, but I wanted, for reasons I won't go into, to shoot the whole thing on one day, and we did. It was interesting because the story takes place over a series of days. It's
Right.
not Groundhog Day, but the days play out much the same
Right.
because Nestor is in a routine that he comes to realize is meaningless without, as he has lost his owner, as it says
Right.
in the tagline. Um, so what I did was I made a shot list and I gave a unique time of day, like 6:01 a.m. Nestor wakes up. You can
Right.
see this much in the trailer. And then if there's another wake up shot on day two, I would just call that 6:02 a.m. And I assigned all of the shots, there are 90 some of them, a unique time of day, and then I sorted the spreadsheet by time of day, and that's how we shot it. We went through the whole
Oh,
day.
okay.
We started before dawn. We got sun up. We
Right.
got early morning. We got some fog. We got some sun. Afternoon. We got the sun going down later in the day, and then I just used my iPhone to shoot some time lapses to put in there as well, and did my own. If there's one thing I can do is do my own visual effects work.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, good.
Well, I love that. That's cool to hear the insight, and it's really nice to get that behind the scenes process, little details like that you wouldn't think of that make the process so much easier. Well, John, thank you so much for talking with me. I'm very excited to play Empty Nester at the Oregon Short Film Festival on March 17th. I think people are gonna really resonate with this one and that ending. I'm curious to see what people think and feel about that.
Ah, good. Yeah, don't give away the ending. I will
I
tell
won't.
you that ending was not rewritten. A new ending was added about 3 days before I shot it, and
Really.
everybody went, "Whoa, yeah,
It's heavy.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, right." So our plan is to leave here on the 15th. We'll be up there on the 17th,
Excellent.
and looking forward to meeting people. I've heard that one of the most important things. Well, I've seen this at other film festivals. One of the most important things that happens there is you can hear the audience's reaction to
Totally.
your film, and that reaction may not have been, how you planned it to be. So you learn from that.
Totally.
But the other really big thing is networking. So I'd
Yeah.
love to meet you in person, and of course
Absolutely.
the other filmmakers, any of the audience members who can pry free the time to be there.
Totally.
Networking is all important in this biz.
Absolutely, and since you have projects in the works, it's the perfect time to expand your network and meet people who can help you out. But
Absolutely.
John, I'm looking forward to meeting you, and I'm looking forward to playing your film on the big screen.
Thank you. See you there. All right.
Take care. Bye.